Okay, good morning, everybody. So last time also we were doing with Markov chains. I will start from the same example that I was taking to explain what are Markov chains, and then we will do an important topic in electronics also, communication also, and computer science also, which is random walk. And how we will see that how a random walk is basically a Markov chain. But let us try to understand the Markov chain from this example. As I was explaining this, I explained this example yesterday, but quickly I will go through it. There is a company which is selling apple juice, and let's call this as brand A. 20% of the market is covered by brand A, right? The overall market. The company has run an advertisement campaign, and the company is expecting to increase the market share from 20% to some other value. And after 1 week, they hired a research company which will actually on weekly basis do the analysis of what happens with the advertisement campaign. And they conclude, the research team, they conclude that someone who is using the brand A will stay with brand A with 90% probability. That means 10% probability is there that somebody who was using brand A will shift to some other brand. And second conclusion is that someone not using brand A will switch to brand A with 70% probability. So somebody who was not using brand A will switch to the brand in question with 70% probability, and 30% probability is that they will stay with the other brands, right? So after 1 week, we want to know the status of the market share and all that. Now, how to put, these are known as the transition probabilities. Now, how to put these transition, these are statements. Statements are good enough to make a, to develop a model, but there are more formal ways to express these transition probabilities. For example, I define two states of this transition diagram. One is A and the other is A dash. A refers to brand A and A dash refers to some other brand. So after, let us put these transition probabilities, which is the conclusion of the research team. It says that somebody using brand A with 0.9 probability, it will stay with brand A. Excuse me. And somebody who was using brand A earlier, there is a 0.1 probability that it will shift to some other brand. That's what is the statement actually. Then somebody who is using some other brand, 0.7 probability is that it will shift to brand A, and 0.3 probability is that it will stick to some other brand. So this is how the transition probabilities are put in the form of a diagram, and this diagram is known as the transition diagram, right? And there are more ways to express the transition probabilities. We can use a matrix also, which is very popularly known as probability transition matrix. So it is generally denoted by capital P, right? And along the vertical side are the current states. How many states the branding can be? Either branding is in either somebody is using A or A dash, some other brand. So this is the current state, and the next state is represented on the horizontal direction, which is again the brand A and some other brand. So somebody using brand A will keep using brand A with 0.9 probability. Somebody using A will shift to some other brand A prime with 0.1 probability. The same thing expressed in the transition diagram. Now it is put in the form of a probability transition matrix. There is another matrix we need to define in the Markov chains that is known as the initial state distribution matrix. Initial state distribution matrix means what is the initial setup of the problem at hand. The problem at hand is a company selling apple juice. It earlier it was having a share of 20%. So S0, which is the initial state distribution matrix, we will say that 0.8. So this company, the brand A, the market share is with probability 0.2, and some other brand is market share 0.8. So this is known as the initial state distribution matrix, and this is generally denoted by SC. We want to, so this is the conclusions of these are the conclusions of the advertisement campaign, and this is our initial state matrix. We want to find out how much, the share of brand A has increased after 1B with these probability conclusions. This is another way of putting the same thing as is put in the probability transition matrix. This is known as tree diagram. We will start from a node, a point, and with point 2 probabilities there, people are using A brand. 0.8 probabilities that people are using A dash brand. So A to A is 0.9, A to A dash is 0.1, A dash to A is 0.7, and A dash to A dash is 0.3. The same thing put in the form of a tree diagram. And we want to know the brand A market share, the improvement in the brand A market share. Correct? Now, this is 0.2 is leading towards brand A, 0.9 is also leading towards brand A. So 0.2, this is the multiplication principle we are using, but there is one more method of matrix multiplication that I will show you in the next slide. So from the starting point, follow the path towards brand A, it is 0.2 into 0.9. Then another path is 0.8 into 0.7. So these are the two paths which are leading to brand A. So that means the probability now is 0.74 with brand A. That means earlier it was 20%, now it is 74% share of brand A with these transition probabilities, if these transition probabilities are true. So Markov chain is the process in which the next state is dependent on the previous state, not on the past states which are next state depends on the current state. Let us call this as current state and S1 as the next state. So next state depends on the current state. It does not depend on the past inputs. That's what we call as a Markov process or a Markov chain. I will define that point in detail in the next slide. So 70%, there is an increase of 74%, provided these transition probabilities are correct. Now we can, so our next state matrix is 0.74 and 0.26. Brand A share is 0.74 and brand A dash, some other brand, the share is 0.26. Another method of getting the same calculation is that S0, you multiply the initial state distribution matrix with the probability transition matrix, you will get the same thing. Now we want to look for what is the effect of the advertisement campaign after 2 weeks. We use we are making here a supposition that we are using the same transition probability. And our S1 is this, S1 multiplied by the probability transition matrix will give us S2 after 2 weeks. So the market date where the values come out to be 0.842 and 0.152. That means around 85% market will be covered by brand A. You can go for after 3 weeks also. Now we will use this state matrix as the initial state matrix multiplied with the probability transition matrix to get S3. So it comes out to be 0.8696 and 0.130. That means 86% or 87% market share will be covered by brand A after 3 weeks. Again, there is a caveat probability if these transition probabilities are correct. So this is known as Markov chain, in which the next state is dependent on the current state and not on the past state, past inputs. Correct. And there are a few terms like initial state distribution matrix and probability transition matrix and how to get the next state. Correct. So we can generalize, we can use this example to understand Markov chains, and now we can generalize the Markov chains based on this example. Now the generalization that I will make is that let X be a random process and is in state xt. Initially, it is in state xt, that means it is the current state at time t. Now, in Markov chains, the random process state, that means the next state xt plus 1 depends only on the current state. It does not depend on the previous states like xt minus 1, x1, x0 up to x0. So it depends only, the next state depends only on the current state. That's what a Markov process is. For example, I'm considering the walking steps. I'm considering, let's say, a random walk where a person is walking, but the next step is dependent only on the current step. It is not dependent on the previous steps. That's what this diagram is actually telling. So in Markov chain, the future depends only on the present and not upon the past. Markov chain is the process. So let's go to the more formal definition of this, just an example. Let's go to the more formal definition of Markov process or Markov chain. So please understand this line. This line says that probability xt plus 1, that means the next state, we denote this next state as S. And what are the other states? The current state we denoted by ST. The previous state, which is at t minus 1, this state is denoted by ST minus 1. Similarly, there will be state xt minus 2 will be denoted by ST minus 2, and going up to x0, which is S0. So these become the previous states starting from t minus 1 to S0 to t0, and xt, this is the present state, and this is the next state. So the probability of the next state conditioned on the previous states, or the probability of the next state conditioned on the current state plus the previous state is always equal to probability of the next state conditioned on the current state only. That's what a Markov chain is. In the case of Markov chain or Markov process, the probability of the random process being in state S is only dependent on the current state. That's how it is. It does not depend on the previous state. Right. So the same thing is put again and again, but the moot point is this only. Now, what is a transition matrix? I have already explained it through an example, but let's take one more example where a condition hot is there and condition cold is there. So these are the two states, and 0.2 probability is there that it will stay in hot state. Please mute your microphones, I request you. So 0.2 probability is there that it will remain in hot state, and 0.8 probability is there that it will go from hot state to cold state. 0.4 probability is there that it will stay in cold state for the next time, and 0.6 probability is there that it will go to the hot state. Some, hypothetical kind of transition diagram. And the probability transition matrix, again, as I said, along the vertical direction will be the current states. Current states are also hot and cold. Along horizontal direction will be the next states, hot and cold. So earlier, if it was hot, it will stay with hot with 0.2 probability. Earlier it was hot and will go to cold with a probability 0.8, and so on. The matrix describing the Markov chain is called the transition matrix. So this is in general put the transition matrix, right? Now in a transition, there are certain properties of the transition matrix which you must understand. The rows represent now or from state xt2. I mean the current state to next state. That's what literal meaning of a row. So the rows represent now or from which state. The columns represent next state or to which state it will go, something like that. And these are the probabilities. And one important thing we need to remember is that the rows of P should sum to 1. The rows of the probability transition matrix should always sum to 1. And the probability transition matrix is a square matrix, right? Because the xt plus 1 and xt both take values in the same state space. Whatever is the state space of the event, whatever is the sample space of the event, whatever is the state space. State space is different from sample. State space means in which state the random process can be. So all those states which constitute the where a random process can be in, so that all those states put together, and that will be called as the state space. So P is a square matrix because xt plus 1 xt both take values in the same state space. So therefore it is a square matrix, correct? The columns need not to go to 1. The sum of the columns need not to go to 1. Now let us take another example where this Markov chain with 3 states is given. 3 states are 1, 2, 3, and the probability transition matrix is given. If you now look at how the probability transition matrix is written, along the vertical direction, the current state is there. The current states can be 1, 2, 3. Along the horizontal direction, again, the next states are there 1, 2, 3. Now, inside the matrix, there are transition probabilities. 1 to 1 is half. These are given. So we need to draw the state transition diagram. We can easily draw the state transition diagram from this if the probability transition matrix is given. Now, the next statement is that if we know that the random process is in state 1, right, is equal to probability it is in state 2 is 1 by 4, and we have to find out the probability that if this path is followed from 3 to 2 to 1, right? Probability of random process be in state 1 is equal to probability of random process being in state 2, right? And we have to find out this path from 3 to 2 to 1. Now, first of all, we will have to find out the probability of the random process being in state 3. What is that probability? What we are given with? So it must be 1 minus probability that the process is in state 1 minus the probability that the process is in state 2. So state 1 and state 2 probabilities are subtracted from 1. We will get the probability of this random process being in state 3, which is half. Now, what we have to calculate? Probability that first it was in state 3, then it was in state 2, and then it was in state 3. So we start from 3, then we go to 2, then we go to 1. So for this, we need to have what is the probability of the random process being in state 3 multiplied by 3 to 2 and multiplied by P2 to 1. So these are the probabilities we have already calculated. And what is the probability that the random processes will follow these transitions from state to state? It is 1 by 12. So I have given, so I took an example of orange juice, some kind of marketing strategy for a Markov process. And then I have taken a hypothetical example of a transition matrix given. We need to draw the state transition matrix, and we have to calculate certain probabilities of random process moving from a state to another state. So we can do, you will get in Tute sheet some more questions on Markov chain. So this is the basic idea of the Markov process or Markov chain. If any questions are there related to Markov chains, then you're most welcome to ask. Otherwise, I will start with a new topic, which is random walk model. Very important topic in computer science and communication engineering and other, because random walk is present everywhere. We will see that what is random walk, how to characterize random walk. So let me just stop sharing this presentation because that is there in new file. I will just use that file. Wait. Two. All right. So I have to share random walk. Okay. I hope this is visible to everybody. Random walk model. So let us try to understand what is random walk model. I have tried to do the things at a very basic level. Starting from basic level, I have written down everything so that you can explain, so that you can understand what a random walk model is. Because these are some confusing topics. If you will see the books, you may get lot of material, but the material is not explanatory. That's the point. Random walks are ubiquitous in applications of mathematics. Ubiquitous means it is present everywhere. So random walks are ubiquitous in applications of mathematics. So where they can be, where they are used in Google search engine algorithms. They are in finance. They describe all kinds of biological movements on both macroscopic and microscopic scale. Brownian motion is a kind of random walk, right? So there are many more examples. That's not important. Initially, there was a mathematician, George Polya, so he used to take morning walks, through the woods. Then he noticed that he would regularly bump into same couple. Bump into means he will regularly milna, basically. He will, he will regularly bump into the same couple. This got him thinking, what are the odds of two randomly walking groups bumping into each other? So he wanted to know what are the conditions and what are the odds that two randomly walking groups bump into each other often. Now, to answer this question, we need to rigorously understand random walks. All right, so this was a question in the mind of George Polya. And then he started thinking and developed the kind of model for a random walk. So random walk is a very general type of random process. It's a random process. It always involves taking a series of steps. All right. So let's see. So in a random walk, you have to take series of steps, number one, and the direction of steps. One thing to note in my notes, you will see that at every page I start from the number one only. So that does not mean anything. This is my usual habit of putting, whenever I use a new page, I put point number 1, 2, and so on. So please don't get confused with that. So, and the direction of steps. So random walk is taking some steps, and the direction of steps is determined probabilistically, right? But random walks take place in many different settings and according to many different rules, right? The most basic random walk is on integers. So let's try to understand by taking the random walk along integers. So these are integers, right? Integers, or you can say whole number, including whole numbers, you can say. So that does not matter. So I mean, no fractional point is there. So this is the scale 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on. -1, 2, this side negative, and 0 is also there. Now you flip a coin. Start from 0. You flip a coin. One side of the coin is plus, and the other side is labeled minus. Now, if the coin lands plus, you move one step to the right, and if the coin lands minus sign, you move towards the left one step. Now, what is the probability after first flip? What is the probability of being in -1 and 1? Half, because either it will be +1 or minus, either it will be plus sign or minus sign, either moving forward or either moving towards the right or towards the left of 0. So half probability is there. Okay. Now let's take the second flip. So with second flip, the first flip, either it can be -1 or 1, but if you take the second flip, what are the probabilities? Probability of you are at -2 is 1/4. Probability of you being at 2 is 1/4, and probability that you are at 0 only is 1/2. Right, because in the first flip, let's say it is a positive sign, so you go to 1. Second flip, another positive sign, you go to 1/2, right? But it can be negative sign also, so you come back to 0. And with first flip, you are at -1. If the plus sign is there, so you can be at 0. If negative sign is there, so you will be at -2. You will see that 2 times you come to 0, so that probability will make out to be half, and at -2 and 2 it will be 1/4, 1/4. After 3 turns, you see you can be at -1 or -3 with 1/8 probability, -1 3/8 probability. You can do this calculation of your own. There's no issue. These probabilities. After 4 turns, we can also do at -4 with the 1/16, at -2 with 1/4, and so on. Now we have to make certain observations while doing this. The following observations can be made. If there are odd turns means if the coin is flipped odd times, you will land up at odd numbers, right? On odd turns, the random walk can only be on odd numbers, and even turns, the random walk will be at even numbers. Correct? So what you are doing, you are taking a random walk along an integer scale by flipping a coin plus or minus. Plus sign will take you towards the right side with 1 step. Minus sign will take you towards the negative side with 1 step. Right? The point is that as you increase the number of turns, what you do basically is you maximum of the time you hovers around 0. And as you keep on increasing the number of flips, it will, let me show you the next slide. The longer you flip the coins for, the more it can spread. But you will see that at 0, the frequency is increasing. At -1, it is decreasing. So it is taking a kind of bell shape. It is taking the frequency of the occurrences of these steps, I mean, of these integers, is taking a bell-shaped curve. So mostly the point is that you are hovering around 0. You are going away also, you are going on the right side, on the negative side, but it takes a bell-shaped curve. The probabilities of a random variable, a random walk, W is walk here, of a random walk being in a specific location begin to form a bell curve, right? So if you simulate it, using some coding language, maybe MATLAB or C or C++, you simulate it for 100 turns, then you will notice that most of the times you will be between. If you throw the coin 100 times, if you flip the coins 100 times, most of the times you will be between +10 and -10. In general, we can extend this point that after n coin flips, you will usually be between -√n or +√n. You will be usually be with more number of flips of the coin, you will hover between -√n and +√n. But mostly the maximum hovering will be around 0, right? And it is taking a kind of a bell-shaped curve. Right. Then let's try to formally put some maths here. Let Fi is the outcome of the coin flip, right? F1 will be, so F1 will be the outcome of the first coin flip, F2 will be second coin flip, and Fi is the ith coin flip. So Fi's are random variables. F1 is a random variable because it can take plus or minus. F2 is again a random variable because it can take a plus or minus. So these are Bernoulli's random variables, but these are random variables. So all Fi's are random variables, right? Starting from Fi, 50% chance, +1, 50% chance, -1. So on average, if you try to find out the expected value, right? Average Fi to start with, it will be half probability for +1, half probability for -1. The answer is 0. So that means you will average is 0, right? But if we actually flip the coins, then so this is expected value. It may happen that you keep on flipping the coins and you get plus 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 only, right? So actual probabilities you will get when you actually flip the coin, but this is expected value. Now with first 3 flips, let's say +1, -1 and +1, so this can be denoted by F1, F2. So you need to actually add these values to get to a point on the integer scale. Right, so let n be some integer. If we add all these outcomes, this will give us the location of walk after n flips. That, let us say, we denote it by Sn, right? Sum of the coin flips, also a random variable. So sum of the coin flips will also be a random variable. Okay. Right. The expected value will again be 0. But where you actually land up will depend on the actual outcomes. And the point that I want to mention here is that about hovering around 0, because the expected value is 0. That's why you're hovering, your frequency of occurrence at 0 is maximum, and then you're taking a bell-shaped curve because the expected value is 0. So this is a random walk on integers, but this is a random walk in 1 dimension because you're moving on a integer scale. But it can be generalized for any dimension. For example, a 2D integer lattice, which looks like a grid. You have to start from 0, 0. You can go up, down. You can go left or right with equally likely. With equal probability and equally likely to move up and down and left and right. So if any arbitrary number d, so it was 2 here, so 2 directions are possible, up, down and left, right. If for any arbitrary number, if you are randomly along a d-dimensional integer lattice, so there will be 2d directions to move. All right. So that is in the case of if you go in the higher dimension. Now, therefore, 2D directions to move. Since it is equally likely to move in any direction, so there will be 1/2D chance to move in a specific direction. So what my point is again of a random walk is that doing random walk along a integer scale, right? So the point is that the expected value comes out to be 0. So you hover around 0 with maximum frequency at 0, and then it is decreasing, taking a bell-shaped curve. That is in the case of a single dimension. But even if you are doing it in a 2-dimension, 3-dimension, 4-dimension, it will be a bell-shaped curve, but in higher dimensions, right? So now back to Polya's question. What was Polya's question? Polya's question from the beginning: what are the odds of 2 randomly walking groups bumping into each other? He quickly realized once he tried to study the random walks, he quickly realized that in the case of a random walk on the integer lattice, this is the same as asking what are the odds that a random walk returns to its starting position. If you are meeting, the point is, let me explain this point. If you are meeting certain couple, if you're bumping into certain couple regularly while doing a random walk, you are doing a random walk, the couple is also doing a random walk, there is a tendency. This is equivalent to saying that what are the odds that the random walk returns to its starting position. As I said, there's a maximum probability of occurrences around 0. That's the starting point. So when he realized that, why we bump into each other, why we meet the couple regularly when I am doing the random walk, the other persons are doing the random walk. So there is a tendency. So there are odds which make you to meet at the starting position, right? So this is random walk. maybe I started explaining random walk with one-dimensional case, second-dimensional, third. It can be in any dimensions, right? Now, there are two definitions of random walks are there. One is recurrent random walk. The other is transient random walk. In a recurrent random walk, it is guaranteed to return to starting position. Transient random walk, if there is a positive probability of never returning to starting position. There is a probability, positive is not that important. There is a probability of never returning to starting position. If you return to, it is guaranteed that you return to the starting position, those random walks are known as recurrent random walks. And if there is a probability of never returning to starting position, those are known as the transient random walk. And let me tell you, we can talk about the reason maybe in some other class, but in one dimension or two dimension, random walks are recurrent random walks. Whereas that is 100% chance it returns to starting spot. In fact, will return infinitely many times to the starting position, right? That answers Polya's question. That is, they are working along the, Polya's question was why the people bump into each other. So they are walking on a two-dimensional ground. So that's why they keep on bumping into each other over and over again. But a random walk on integer lattice in dimensions 3D or higher is transient. There is a chance that random walk will escape and never return to starting spot. Intuitively, it makes sense because in higher dimensions, you have more space to wiggle off to. To wiggle off means to distract, to escape out to some other trajectory. So you never come back to the starting position. There is a very well saying in mathematics, which the saying goes like this: a drunk man will find its way home, right? A drunk man will find its way to home because of course, he is doing random walk. If a man is, very very badly drunk, so you can imagine the walking of a drunk man, 2 steps forward, then this way, that way, but he will reach to home. That is a random walk. But a drunk bird, since drunk bird is flying, drunk man is on the ground on a 2D space, whereas the drunk bird, if it is, then it will be on a higher dimensional space, may get lost forever. So this is just a saying in mathematics. So the drunk man has no preferential direction. He is equally likely to move in all directions. But in general, random walks can have biased preferential direction. Because earlier, the example that I took was that flipping a coin. Let's say it was an unbiased coin I was talking about. And you hover around 0. But there can be a biased coin also. Let's take the case of a biased coin. Instead of flipping a fair coin, we flip a biased coin. It has the probability P of landing +1 and probability 1 minus P of landing -1. So when P is and P is of course a number between 0 and 1. If P is half, 1 minus P is equal to 1/2, P is equal to 1/2. This is known as simple random walk, right? This is known as simple random walk, fair coin. But if P is, let's say, 1/4, 1 minus P will be 3/4, right? So 1 minus P will take you towards moving left, and P equal to 1/4, you will move right. Smaller P, more biased to left, bigger P, more biased to right. Before we expected our random walk to, so earlier in if it is a fair coin, we expected that the random walk will hover around 0, right? But now we are considering the case of a biased coin with P defining +1 step, 1 minus P defining -1 step. Average value of the coin flip is 2P minus 1 +1 into P -1 into 1 minus P. So it comes out to be 2P minus 1. And if there are n steps, the average value will come out to be n into 2P minus 1. Now the point is that now it will hover around that expected value. Earlier, the expected value was 0, but now since the coin is biased, there will be some other expected value. So, but it will make a bell-shaped curve around that expected value in a random walk case. Right, so these are some same points I have tried to explain. A random walk, now this is important actually. A random walk is an example of a Markov chain only. A random walk is a Markov chain with infinitely many states. Each integer is a state, right? Integer example that I'm talking, just talked about. Every integer is a kind of a state in a Markov chain. And the probability transition functions are probability that earlier it was in state X and next state is X plus 1 is probability is P. That means on the right side. And if it is probability, if it is in state X, the next state is X minus 1. So this probability is 1 minus P. These are the probability transition functions. So random walks are everywhere. They are not just on integer lattice. Random walks are on graphs, right? Graph searches are there. You must have studied these algorithms and data structures and all, graph theory. Then when you work on a computer or a browser, you keep on, changing the websites. Quick, you go from one website to some other website. Basically, you are doing a random walk. Computer, shifting of the the websites are modeled as random walks. So computers can randomly walk within websites, which is basically what Google search algorithm is doing. Now you can put a condition in when you are doing this kind of walk that it should not exceed beyond, because you are flipping the coin, so there can be infinite number of states, but you don't want that the random walk should continue forever. Let's say I want to stop my random walk at plus 10 and minus 10 if I'm doing integer walk, then this is known as gambler's ruin, a model of a simple gambling game, because the person cannot keep on winning also, the person cannot keep on losing also. So this is known as gambler's ruin problem. And you can terminate the random walk maybe at plus 10, minus 10. This is just an example that I have taken, but otherwise it can be, you can terminate it anywhere. Okay. Then there are more things to be done here. Probably I will do in the next, because I won't be able to complete here. This is moving average process. Then I have to do what is autoregressive process, then ARMA process, autoregressive and moving average. So I will explain these processes with examples and explanation maybe in the next lecture. Okay. So if you have any questions, then please ask about random walks. We will see a random walk is actually an autoregressive process, and we will try to do a little bit more maths on this. So thank you very much for joining the class. Thank you.